Have you ever felt lost? Not geographically, but within yourself. A grayness settling over everything, dimming the colors of joy, silencing the music of hope. It's a universal experience, this shadow that descends. And for decades, we thought we understood its source. We built an entire system, an industry even around a single, elegant idea, a chemical imbalance. Specifically, a shortage of something called serotonin. Imagine your brain as a vast, intricate city. Messages are constantly flowing between buildings, neurons, carried by tiny couriers, neurotransmitters. Serotonin is one of those couriers, often associated with feelings of well-being, happiness, and stability. The story we told ourselves was this: if you're feeling down, if you're lost in that grayness, it's because you don't have enough of these serotonin messengers delivering their vital packages. And so in the 1970s, a new class of drugs emerged: Selective Serotonin Reuptake Inhibitors, SSRIs. A mouthful, isn't it? Let's call them mood stabilizers for now, though that name itself carries a weight of expectation. The idea was beautifully simple. These drugs would block the cleanup crew, the transporters that normally gather up excess serotonin from the bustling city streets, the synaptic cleft, and return it to the sending neurons. Think of it like this. Normally, after a message is delivered, the courier goes back to base to collect another one. SSRIs essentially tie up the couriers, keeping them out on the streets longer, increasing the concentration of serotonin hanging around, hoping to bump into a receptor and deliver a bit of happiness. More serotonin, more messages delivered, more joy. That was the promise. For years it worked. Or at least it seemed to. Millions found relief. The serotonin hypothesis became deeply ingrained in our understanding of depression, a cornerstone of modern psychiatry. It felt right. It offered a tangible explanation for an intensely personal and often baffling experience. A pill to fix a chemical imbalance. A straightforward solution to a complex problem. But what if the story wasn't quite as simple as we thought? What if the map we'd been using to navigate the landscape of depression was incomplete? Here's where things get interesting. And a little unsettling. Because the more we learn about the brain, the more we realize how profoundly mysterious it truly is. If you start taking an SSRI, expecting that immediate rush of serotonin-fueled happiness, you'll likely be disappointed. In fact, most people don't feel a difference for weeks. Weeks. Think about that for a moment. The theory tells us serotonin levels begin to increase within hours of taking the medication. Within hours. So why the agonizing wait? Why does it take 4, 6, even 8 weeks for some people to experience any improvement in their symptoms? This disconnect, this glaring inconsistency, began to raise questions. If increasing serotonin were the sole mechanism of action, shouldn't the relief be faster? Shouldn't it be more immediate? Scientists began to dig deeper, to challenge the fundamental assumptions that underpin the entire field. What they discovered was humbling. It turns out, the brain is far more adaptable, far more complex than we ever imagined. It doesn't simply respond to a single chemical nudge. It rewires itself. Imagine that city again. Let's say you suddenly flood the streets with extra couriers. At first, there might be a slight increase in deliveries. But what happens next? The city doesn't just passively accept this influx. It adapts. New routes are established. Traffic patterns change. The receiving buildings, the receptors, might even become less sensitive over time, needing more and more messengers to achieve the same effect. That's what appears to be happening in the brain. SSRIs do increase serotonin levels, yes. But that's likely just the first domino to fall in a much longer, more intricate chain of events. The initial serotonin boost seems to trigger a cascade of other changes. Changes in brain plasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections. Changes in the growth of new neurons. Changes in the way different brain regions communicate with each other. It's not just about having enough messengers. It's about rebuilding the entire delivery system. And that rebuilding process takes time. It takes effort. It takes the brain actively working to reorganize itself. But even that explanation doesn't fully account for everything. Because in recent years, a more radical question has emerged. What if the initial problem wasn't a shortage of serotonin at all? This is where the story takes an even more dramatic turn. A growing body of research, including meta-analyses, studies that combine the results of many different trials, is challenging the very foundation of the serotonin hypothesis. These studies suggest that there's actually no consistent evidence linking low serotonin levels to depression. None. Let that sink in. For decades, we've been treating a condition based on a theory that doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Now, this isn't to say that SSRIs are useless. Many people continue to benefit from them. But it does mean we need to reevaluate how they work and why they work for some and not for others. Furthermore, some research suggests that SSRIs might not be significantly more effective than a placebo, a sugar pill, for many people, especially those with mild to moderate depression. The benefits, it seems, might be most pronounced in those with the most severe forms of the illness. This raises uncomfortable questions, doesn't it? Questions about the overprescription of antidepressants. Questions about the influence of pharmaceutical companies. Questions about our collective reliance on quick-fix solutions for deeply complex problems. If depression isn't simply a chemical imbalance, then what is it? The answer, as you might expect, is infuriatingly complex. Depression is likely a multifaceted condition, influenced by a vast array of factors. Genetics, early childhood experiences, trauma, chronic stress, inflammation, social isolation, the gut microbiome. The list goes on and on. It's not a single disease with a single cause, but rather a constellation of symptoms that can arise from a multitude of different underlying issues. Think of it like a fever. A fever isn't the illness itself, it's a symptom of an illness. You don't treat the fever, you treat the underlying infection. Similarly, depression might be a symptom of something deeper, a signal that something is fundamentally out of balance in a person's life. And that's why a holistic approach to mental health is so crucial. An approach that addresses not just the chemical aspects of the brain, but also the psychological, social, and environmental factors that contribute to well-being. Therapy, for example, can help us identify and address the underlying patterns of thought and behavior that contribute to depression. Exercise can release endorphins, natural mood boosters. Social connection can combat loneliness and isolation. A healthy diet can nourish the brain and reduce inflammation. Mindfulness practices can help us cultivate a greater sense of awareness and acceptance. These aren't quick fixes, of course. They require effort, commitment, and a willingness to confront difficult emotions. But they offer something that a pill alone often cannot: a lasting sense of empowerment and self-discovery. The story of SSRIs and the serotonin hypothesis is a cautionary tale. It's a reminder that science is never settled, that our understanding of the brain is constantly evolving, and that we must always be willing to challenge our assumptions. It's also a reminder that mental health is not simply a matter of chemistry. It's a matter of connection, meaning, and purpose. It's about finding ways to navigate the inevitable challenges of life with resilience, compassion, and hope. So the next time you feel that grayness descending, that sense of being lost within yourself, remember this: you are not simply a chemical imbalance. You are a complex, resilient, and infinitely capable human being. And the path to healing isn't always about finding a pill. It's about rediscovering your own inner strength, reconnecting with your values, and rebuilding the city within your mind, brick by brick, connection by connection. It's about remembering that even in the darkest of nights, the potential for light always remains.